absolutely did his job in the Baron lane. He's super aggressive, getting those kills, and T1 secures a Corki. This is a power pick. You know, every single team pretty much picks the Corki, and T1 just secured it for themselves.
Okay, Leviatán. Things like the Camille are open, but the Riven is also available. So imagine that Zhong would be comfortable taking the matchup of either stance. Leviatán, other things to consider. Looking at perhaps Ziggs.
Yeah, definitely. Ziggs is also open, who we know is a very power pick, and Kha'Zix's first pick as well. About Ziggs though, we've seen a lot of teams pick the Ziggs very early on in the draft, and they did get punished for it by the champions that can counter the Ziggs. We saw Alistar's into the Ziggs, right? We saw Nasus into the Ziggs. Like, these are champions that Ziggs just can't deal with. So while it is a very good, super high priority pick, there's just so many counters, and if you compare Corki to that especially, like, you can't really counter Corki. Corki is just always good.
Corki is like the Swiss Army knife of champions right now. You can throw him into almost any composition. If you've got a dive system going on, Corki's got you with package. If you're trying to kite back, Corki's got you. He's got package to go backwards, and he's got the range to be able to supply backline damage.
And another champion that we need to talk about is the Gragas. Now that Kha'Zix got picked, we know how good of a combo the Kha'Zix Gragas is, because when Gragas uses his explosive casket, everyone gets separated. And then when you have a Kha'Zix, he's going to be picking all of them off. So
Isolation.
The question is T1 going to give that? And they actually picked the Camille.
The priority was the set. Probably the best support pick for Billy in this tournament. Seems incredibly comfortable on it. But for Team 1, they can look for a jungle response right now against the Kha'Zix, or they can wait for the next phase.
So T1 just picked Camille. I feel like this could... this is a strong pick for them, right? Like, Zhong on that Camille, it's either the Riven or the Camille. But then if you look at Androck on the other, opposite side from Leviatán, and this is especially why I really love the Camille pick, because Androck loves to play those tanks. He loves to play the Malphite, he loves to play the Garants, right? He loves to play those types of champions. Camille is the type of champion that can deal with that, right? She does the true damage. So I feel T1 has done their homework, and that's actually a Riven. It seems like yet...
And Lux, not only the safety with the backline range, but also ways to get that initial burst off so that the Kha'Zix can pick off the
I was just going to say the Orianna, because the question is, who do you pick now? And it's really either Orianna or the Morgana, and we see it happen on both sides. The Orianna on Leviatán side and the Morgana on T1 side. I actually really love this Orianna pick, because her second ability provides that team-wide slow and team-wide buff. So in that late game, when she skills up, deals a lot of damage, she's going to be able to stop JY on that Jax by engaging.
Now, here's the question. Leviatán, we've talked about it before. Kite, he can play AP carries, but he prefers the marksman. He prefers to take something like the Lucian, like a more aggressive pick. This Orianna can still be flexed to Lumish. Lumish is fine playing any champion, being a team player for Leviatán. So, and if this is either a Corki or a Morgana, they don't have that much all-in threat. You could go with something super aggressive. I don't know if Kite plays Draven, but that would be pretty pog.
That would be pretty pog right here. Ooh, it's a Zed in the mid lane actually for Lumesh. Wow, I find that interesting.
That's also pog. I like that.
That's pog. That's fun to watch. And in the late game as well, like we saw it happen earlier, you have such good assassination potential. And not just that, he's going to be able to bait out those flashes, those stasis enchants, for them to have Androck on that Riven to go all in and Andy follow up. Like, he's going to be the tool that they need to bait out those important things in the game.
Double assassins for Leviatán means that it is all about the initial burst from Kite and Androck, being able to get the shockwave on top of the Riven all-in combo. If you get enough burst off, those two assassins can finish them off.
And even if they don't finish off with the all-in, you still have Kite on that Orianna, which is a massive late-game threat. If she goes for that...
Game 1, elimination. T1 and Leviatán taking to the Rift here. And for the early game, Hells, there's not much proactivity and agency from these two junglers in particular.
Definitely. I don't think there's going to be that much happening, especially from the side of T1. You know, you're playing that Jax, you're going to be farming up a lot. And if you look at all of their champions, right, Corki is not that strong during the stage. Zhong on that Camille, neither is he. BDG on the Morgana. These guys want to scale into the late game. But if you look at Leviatán, right, it's going to be a bit hard to be aggressive since you have that Orianna as well. It's not that strong of a late or early game champion. But they have to make the moves. Lumesh on that Zed, whenever he reaches level 5, I want to see Leviatán go.
So we're looking at wake-ups, probably around 2.5 minutes,
yeah.
where the solo lanes come online at level 5.
Definitely. Like right now, probably not much is going to happen. And as I'm saying that, Bailey seems to be looking for a little bit of aggression. But when you have that Dragon Lane matchup, there's not much that's going to be happening, right? It's a Morgana against an Orianna. And supports are Gragas and a set. Like, sure, a set can be aggressive, but you don't have that big follow-up. So it's probably going to be a very safe lane right there. Unless we see some ganking happening, there's probably not much that is going to be happening. Even in the Baron lane right here, which is Jong against Android, this is just kind of a safe matchup.
Yeah, the pathing from JY indicates that he wants to start hovering Jong for the next
Andy
couple
as well.
of minutes. You also have these 2 mages in the bottom side of the map, which allows both the supports to come online and start roaming to the opposite side.
Definitely, and that's what I want to see from Leviathan, right? Like, they have to make those crazy plays. And as I'm talking, it's Andy that's looking for a kill, but Core just escapes very easily.
Valkyrie gets him out alive, and Andy doesn't bolster that much damage, especially when he is surrounded by minions, so you don't get the isolation damage.
So JY is invading, but Leviathan knows that. They have vision right there, and then on the opposite side, there's vision on the other blue buff as well. So both teams know what's going on. Both teams seems to be shaking hands, and just as you said, it's like both teams are trying to get to that late game right now.
At this point, Leviathan just making sure that they don't take unnecessary risks against T1. Leviathan going back to what got them to the #1 seed in WOL, and Androck.
Wow. Showing who's boss in the Baron lane right now. He just destroyed Jong right there. And he could be looking for that kill with his fast enough, but unfortunately he's just not quite fast enough. Still a little win for Leviathan, because Jong did lose 3 minions, which is like 200 gold. Not that much, but it's still a win.
And Androck used the Ignite. Jong making sure that he didn't burn any summoner spells, so he has a combat summoner advantage the next time he comes back into lane.
Definitely, and it's Leviathan sitting on a 500 gold, and that's because of those tiny little plays that they've made. It's great to see though. They are on the upper hand, right? Like, even though it's not that much, it still matters when you're ahead with that amount of gold, because you're just doing a tiny bit better in the game, and when you're up against a team like T1, who is supposedly going to be a better team, it's great.
Right now, Billy has already rotated away from the dragon side of the map. He's here to support maybe for a 3-man gank total, but
Penguin is there as well. Yeah, Penguin is there as well. T1 knows what's up, right? They're not going to fall for the Leviathan trap. It seems like they just really, really know what's up. And, I mean, looking at their composition, so scary in the late game. And they're just doing such a good job playing out this early game, making sure Jong doesn't die to Androck, because we've seen it happen where a Baron laner gets super ahead, and then the Baron laner just hard carries the game. So T1 is just making sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, usually Jong has, as the analyst has pointed out, Jong has been on the weak side of receiving and absorbing so much pressure. And the fact that he's still been able to come out on top in a lot of those games just goes to show how remarkable of a laner and a player Jong is for this team.
Oh yeah, definitely. And T1 taking their own jungle right here. Leviathan has vision on that jungle. Not anymore, however, but this is important information. Andy now knows that JY is on the bottom side of the map. He could potentially be looking for some aggression on the opposite side of the map, but yet again, it seems like they're just shaking hands, want to go back, get their items, and get to the late game.
Already, first items are coming in at the 4-minute mark. We're about a minute away from the first 2 objectives. Yeah, I was going to point that out to you. Are you a fan?
No. I would have loved to see a lethality item, you know, the Yumo's Ghostblade, the Duskblade of Drakta, which gives him so much more damage, so much more explosive draw damage during teamfights. Like, sure, right now, he's going to be good during split pushes, but I feel like that's not what Leviathan needs. Leviathan needs that explosive team fighting very early on in the game, before the Jax skills, before the Morgana skills, before the Camille skills. When you have Hullbreaker, that's not going to happen.
Androck is in a world of trouble now, locked in the Hextech ultimatum. Counter-Strike comes in, and it's just easy pickings. T1 strike with first blood.
Phenomenal gank from T1 right there. Jong instantly using his ultimate. JY going right after him, using his flash and getting that kill. This is the lead that T1 needs. Jong has a little bit of a gold lead now, but it's especially JY with the gold lead right now since he got a kill.
Yeah, the benefactor of that gank, and he's going right to the Herald as well. Great understanding from T1. They know what their conditions are. Get as much gold, snowball the Jax and the Camille. But in this fight, explosive cast from Penguin is separating the moments package there, tries to split up the rest of the fight, and he commits to the dragon, is able to secure it, but at the cost of Billy's life.
Oh, T1 did not want to give that dragon for free. They took the Rift Herald, and Core and Lumesh. You know, that's the better of the whole breakers, but JY keeps going.
He's sending the Rift Herald right into the mid lane. If TJ was on the cast, he'd say, that's a WCK Herald, Rift Mark.
They didn't get the mid lane turret, however, which I feel is a bit of a loss for T1 because Leviatán was able to secure that Infernal Dragon, which does scale very well into the late game. And I feel it's really important that they actually denied it from T1 as well. And T1 also takes a whole turret.
The pressure they created off of the Herald in the mid lane, forcing Leviatán to regroup after the collapse of the Dragon, means that they could not defend every single turret. And first brick goes over to T1, and we already see 2 kills, 1 turret, a 2,000 gold swing.
And T1 also got that mid lane turret to a low amount of HP. So just with a little bit of pressure, they're also going to be able to get that mid lane turret. So very, very well played by T1 right now. But Leviatán didn't really lose that much, because if you look at the gold count, that's like a 1.5k gold lead for T1. And Leviatán took that Infernal Dragon, which is absolutely amazing to get on Kite. And if we look at Kite's build as well, he's going for the late game approach. He's taking that Archangel Staff, which takes a while to scale up. But when it does scale up, Rafa, it's a massive Orianna.
We have seen quite many games this week, Hells, throughout, where no matter what happened in the first 10, 12 minutes of the game, teams took it to the late game and said, okay, we're flipping it on Elder. And I'm pretty sure that is where Leviatán is going to be comfortable.
Oh!
Lumesh looking for the all-in on the core, but it's just a simple backstep, and he's out of there.
And that's the power of the Hole Breaker, right? Like, as Billy tries to take a fighter as well, you cannot kill a Hole Breaker, Corki.
Oh, we've seen this story before. Hextech Ultimatum is such a good tool.
Oh, you need stasis, Leviatán. You need a stasis enchant, and Penguin goes in?
He's just creating more chaos in the jungle, saying, hey, you can't get to the tower. We're taking it for free.
Wow, T1 is just pushing their advantage right now. It's crazy to see that a late game composition is pushing their advantage. And is that JY looking for a fighter scan?
He does not stop on the aggression here, Hells. Flashing away from the last turret shot. That is 4 kills to JY.
Oh, JY is crazy. He's a maniac. He gets everything. The fact that he just dived the turret like that, knowing that he's up against a Zed who has the shadows, but he just did it anyways. He went for the dive, used his flash, and got the kill.
All right, Hells. If you wanted to talk to the Latin American fan base, and you gave them a picture of the stats right now, are they slamming the alert button?
Yeah. They are slamming the alert button. I'm not saying it's over, but they are slamming the alert button. I mean, if you look at this game, you're up against T1, who is such a strong team. They're winning against you with a late game composition. Like, everything has to be on Kite right now. He has to carry this game in the late game. You can see T1 is going to look for Lumesh again.
Lumesh has that mark available. T1, they might have overextended for this one. Penguin can't get in there. Shockwave right on time with the stasis timing as well. Leviatán answer back for the first kill.
Rafa, that's 4 ultimates for JY. Leviatán just used 4 of their ultimates to just kill a single champion from T1.
Did they get him?
They got him. They got him.
It worked, baby.
It worked. But that really shows how hard it is for Leviatán to just take care of JY on that Jax right now. And that's just an early game Jax sitting on 1 item. He's going for that death stance as well, which means he's not respecting Kite on that Orianna yet. He's taking a death stance to soak up that attack damage from all of the other champions, and it's going to be hard to kill him unless Kite does a phenomenal job during those team fights.
So what you're saying is Leviatán need to find a way to just get a surplus of gold into Kite's pockets.
Definitely. He needs the gold. He needs to do the damage, especially because, Jong is just, doing a lot of damage right there.
On forward.
It's crazy. Even in a 1 versus 3, he seems fearless.
He's got Hextech Ultimatum. He's got plenty of tools to outplay people at this point in the game and has a solid 1,000 gold in terms of stats over everyone else.
He has a Hole Breaker as well. Like, you can just see it. Leviatán is desperately trying to kill him. But meanwhile, on the opposite side of the map is JY taking a free Rift Herald.
And this is what JY and Jong have been so good historically, even during the inception of the WCK. They'll often take a scaling jungler and a split push able Baron laner, and then just take opposite sides of the map and just pull teams apart.
And they put Jong on a Hole Breaker as well. So even though Core on the Corki has a Hole Breaker, just because, like what you said, yes, Jong picked up the Hole Breaker as well to apply pressure on the opposite side of the map so they can get free objectives. So even though, T1 is probably not going to be the strongest during teamfights, since they have 2 Hole Breakers, they make it worth because they're securing the objectives for it.
Lumesh is on duty here, answering against Core, who, with that Hole Breaker, makes things a little bit more difficult to assassinate, and beyond the exhaust. You put a stasis on top of that Corki, I think it's going to be very difficult for Lumesh for quite some time to take down.
Yeah, definitely. And we can see it already. JY has the death stance ready. I don't think Leviatán has a single chance to take this fight right now because their champions just cannot take care of JY right now. It seems like they are actually still going to take the fight, but let's see how it goes.
It's tough to get in. Penguin is is quite the bouncer at the moment.
Can't
they cannot
even go
get
in.
into the club.
Yeah,
man.
they can't even go in. It's just a free dragon for T1 right now. And T1 just pushing their lead so incredibly well, just taking every single objective. They got heralds, they got dragons, they're taking turrets. They already took 3 turrets as opposed to the 0 turrets from Leviatán. This is just... It's not like what we've seen from the WRL teams, but this is domination from T1.
T1, a very clean showing throughout this first game. Aside from the first kill, but it did come at the cost of 4 ultimates from Leviatán. Oh, Penguin.
I don't think he dies.
He should be able to get out of this one, right? The Ignite is ticking down, and he's got the damage reduction from that second ability. He's fine.
And the Aftershock. That rune single-handedly saved his life. He got tankier when he dispositioned Lumesh right there, and that saved his life. And unfortunately for Lumesh, wasn't able to take that pretty important kill as well on Penguin, because Leviatán just needs to get those kills. They need to get that gold, because if that doesn't happen, the gold is just going to keep accelerating towards T1 right now.
Yeah, sitting at 5,000 for T1 at the moment, almost 12 minutes into the game, which means the third dragon will be coming online within the next 2 minutes.
Jong.
And it's all T1 who are focusing down the control in the upper side of the jungle. This Hextech ultimatum and a beautiful explosive cast leaves no response for Leviatán.
It didn't allow Bailey to do anything. He could not use a single ability because he got CC'd so often. JY is still very aggressively positioned in the jungle right there. And yet again, T1, they fight. Fight is done and everyone goes to their own lane. Jong moving to the bot lane. We see Penguin in the mid lane and JY pushing the top lane. Just, they're everywhere.
Cannot stop the split push pressure, Hells. T1, they are pulling Leviatán on the bottom side of the map and on the top side of the map as well.
T1 is 8,000 gold ahead right now. And if you look at this team gold, like, look at the amount of gold that T1 has. 4 of their carry champions have so much more gold than Leviatán. And even if you look at Core compared to Kite, which is the closest one, Core is 1.2k ahead, Rafa. It's crazy. This is a massive lead.
Damn. That stonks right there.
That definitely does. That hurts Leviatán. Like, as I said, and even if they reach the late game, like, how do you win against that composition of T1 right now? And T1 is looking for even more aggression.
They can just force Leviatán out of their own jungle. It doesn't belong to them anymore.
It's crazy, and they even put their tower in the bot lane, but not all of them are in the bot lane. It's Jong in the mid lane. This is what we saw from the WRTUs, but Rock is gonna go in. Ooh. Nope.
It's just, the Rift Herald gets 1 turret. Jong and Penguin looking for the flank here. Explosive cast already lands onto Billy, separated from the rest of the members of Leviatán, trapped in that Hextech ultimatum, and Lumish trying to respond with the Death Mark, doesn't get any damage. Shockwave flips on a 1, gets a flash out of BDG, but the rest of Leviatán, they are just forced to respond to JY, who is smacking the tower.
Oh my god, he just takes the inhibitor turret as well.
Solo in a 1v4 as well, he doesn't care.
Wow, I was just gonna say that Leviatán could potentially still win this game, as they were dealing a lot of damage during those team fights. Kite was doing a good job, and he finally finished the Seraph's Embrace, but that's an inhibitor turret gone already, Rafa.
Time seems to have run out for Leviatán. Obviously, there's still big late game objectives like the Elder Dragon and the Baron, but when you have super minions pushing into the base, it is going to be so difficult.
And as we look into this replay, you can see, right, BDG on that Morgana just didn't allow Androck to go in. But Leviatán did do a good amount of damage. Even though Billy got caught here, if you look at Kite, he was positioning very, very well. He was sitting in the backline right there and dealing so much damage with his abilities. And it's like, you don't really see it until you pay attention to it. But Kite dealt so much damage during that team fight. And again, this is their one-way ticket to victory this game. When the Elder spawns, it's going to be all up to Kite to carry the game.
Big shoes to fill. Kite being the only remaining member from LATAM's seed at Horizon Cup in Ebro Gaming, trying to step up and be the person that can put in the damage for Leviatán.
Oh yeah, definitely. And but T1 is not gonna give this chance, right? Here you can see it, the damage dealt. Exactly. Kite dealt 3.7 thousand damage during the fight, which is a lot of damage. So you can see the potential of that Orianna on Leviatán right now. This damage is gonna be doubled if he's able to get 4 items. He has 2 items right now. When he gets 4 and 5 items, like, I still see a way for Leviatán winning this game. It's just up to Kite right now.
Yeah, the big difficulty, though, for Leviatán is without that inhibitor, super minions always pouring in means that someone has to always be tending to the lane.
And it's Lumesh. Lumesh is constantly going to have to take care of it. He has that hull breaker, because if he doesn't, then it's going to be Jong sitting in that lane, and you cannot deal with it. And, I mean, T1 is just not giving a single chance to Leviatán to make a comeback. And I'm sure they'll even push towards this inhibitor right here.
Pressure is absolutely relentless from T1.
Crazy.
Not knocking on the inhibitor doors quite yet, but still, they have full control of this jungle quadrant.
And the dragon is spawning, Baron is up, and sure, Luma's got a turret, but it doesn't really matter when you're 8,000 gold behind. All Leviathan needs to do right now is try to delay whatever happens, try to delay turret takes, but you can see it, T1 won't delay anything. The dragon spawns, the next second they're on it already.
Boom. I mean, for Leviathan, this isn't the game-winning dragon quite yet, but it's another stat buff that T1 are going to take graciously.
Yeah, definitely. And Kite's sitting on 3 items right now. He picked up that all-important Rabadon's Death Cap, which is going to give him so much more damage. So yet again, Leviathan, put all your resources on Kite, give him as much gold as you can, play around him, protect him in teamfights, and they could win a teamfight in this game right now.
Take a moment to breathe here, Hells, because Leviathan are now forced to be poised around this Baron. This would be the next big objective that T1 will start just to force Leviathan to come out of the safety of their base.
And JY picked up a Guardian Angels up, but they just go in immediately.
Hextech ultimatum onto Billy, using the Haymaker shield. It's all for naught. Explosive cast pushes back members of Leviathan back into the quadrants of the jungle. The rest of Leviathan trying to regroup, trying to collapse onto T1, but the strength in numbers is with the Korean squad. They're the powerhouses in this match.
Kite was not even there, Rafa. What an absolutely tragic fight for Leviathan that was, because, again, T1 doesn't give them the chance to do what they want. They don't give them the chance, and it's T1 taking the very first game in the series right now. They just destroyed the #1 seed from the WR from Latin America, and this team is looking like a banger right now.
Yeah, this such a clean showing from T1, easily taking out Leviathan in a quick and quite stylishly fashion.
Wow, that was impressive. That really showed how good T1 is. And honestly, it shows that T1 evolved on the stage, because T1 did lose a series against Rix, and although they did win against them afterwards, this feels like a different T1 to me, Rafa.
There's something about facing
burst damage. And you're either using your Riven to start team fights, land good AoE, or you're using your Zed, in which you get the Zed in opening kill, they have enough gold to burst, and you can snowball that. Those are the 2 lanes I want to see them play through. Instead, Leviathan, Andy, on that Kha'Zix is early ganking the bottom lane, where, yeah, Billy looks real good on the set, but also it's an Orianna.
Yeah.
And the Orianna is just not going to do anything, at least until they complete first item Ludens. So Kite got a whole bunch of that early attention, got a whole bunch of early setup, and nothing was ever going to really come from it, especially versus a Morgana.
Yeah.
So I think that was a little bit of misdirected resources from Leviathan.
Interesting, though, when we're talking about how the early game went, that it was Andra getting the best of the top lane. When we looked at the damage charts, there is actually the Riven that did second least on the team behind the set support, which is understandable.